What have you said? The nice part of Jersey? Hey, as much as I love shitting on Jersey, there's so many like bougie neighborhoods out there with great food and everything. I'm convinced that people over there go along with the jokes. And everyone, in fact, I feel like they create a lot of those jokes so that people don't move there and move into their oasis. I'm like, I'm like convinced that a lot of people from Jersey straight up fabricated those Jersey is shit jokes so that people don't move in. Straight up. Because I've had plenty of friends end up moving out there from the city. And I'll visit and I'll be like, wait, this place that you live in is really nice. You have good food. It's like not too different from the city in some ways, but it's cleaner. And they're like, don't tell anybody, you know? I'm like, oh, okay. Patterson and Newark are where the jokes exist. It's not just that, it's right when you cross from Staten Island, take the bridges over into Jersey. That's where all the industrial stuff is and where all the dumps used to be. So it used to smell like shit all the time. It still kind of does, but not as bad. And that's kind of where a lot of that came from. Because when you drive from New York through there, you'd see only the worst of it. You know, keeping their property taxes low. No, they have the highest property taxes in the country. A lot of counties and cities and stuff in Jersey. I looked at one point and I was like, how bad is it out there? Like certain friends lived in certain areas and I was like, oh, I wonder what it's like. The property taxes are insanely high. Insanely high. They have great schools, apparently. They do. I mean, that's the thing, is the infrastructure and everything is good, and it appears like the taxes from the state actually get you back, like, you know, good education if you have a kid, blah, blah, blah. But I can't make sense of the amount of dollars some people pay per year. Like, there's some areas where it's like $15K a year or more for your property taxes for like a quarter acre. Like, dude, like a normal ass house in a dense suburban area, $15K for the year. It seems to be like in a lot of the nicer areas of Jersey, it looks like it's 10 to 20. No, thank you. It's a no from me, dog. That's crazy. Absolutely insane. And it does seem nice, but I don't know. I might see districts decentralized. I guess y'all pay different taxes, huh? Taxes are interesting in New York because you pay state tax. You also pay city tax. But the property taxes tend to not be that high. So you don't get fucked on that. You do pay extra taxes on some other things if you live in the city specifically. If you're within city limits, we do pay city tax. But the property taxes really aren't that bad, in my opinion, depending on where you live. But in most like normal neighborhoods, not like rich people areas, and like not Manhattan, because nobody should fucking live in Manhattan, in all honesty. But no, the property taxes are not nearly as bad. So, yeah. New Jersey's for raising families, what you're hearing. That's what it sounds like. I guess that's why a lot of folks move out there. They like get married and then move out there. I don't know. They still do the thing where you can't pump your own gas. Yeah. Yeah. If you drive through Jersey and you need to like fill up before like you keep going, you can't pump your own gas. And it was something they did a long time ago to preserve like the jobs, basically. It was something a long time ago because the people who worked at and owned the gas stations specifically, like it was a lot of franchise owners, and they were like, hey, we have attendants and stuff, and a lot of the time it would be a family that owned a gas station, so the attendant would be a family member. So it was like, this is how their family lived. And they would be like, if you let people pump their own gas, this job goes away. And I don't know what happened, but at some point it just became a thing where everyone else was dropping off the attendants, and Jersey was like, no. And you just have to have an attendant, but they're all manned all the time. So that was actually something nice. If I would be driving back from somewhere, I would always stop to get gas in Jersey, because if it would be like a late night heading back on a Sunday night or whatever, I could just stop, let the attendant do it. You know, it doesn't cost you extra. So I was chilling, man. I would always stop. Also, the gas was always cheaper in Jersey than in New York. So I'd always stop to get the cheap gas before continuing. That was the whole thing. You said you live in New York City but work in Jersey. Your paycheck has New York, New Jersey, and NYC. Is that normal? Yeah. You start to get into some interesting tax stuff, but yeah. Your employer, if they're in Jersey, would pay taxes to Jersey for any income made there that they're giving to you for working there. And then you yourself are going to pay the place you live in your taxes. And then depending on what type of basis you work on, sometimes you do also pay in the place you're working, but usually not. That's more so for out of country stuff where you pay for both. You're supposed to tip gas attendants. Yeah, you kind of should. You kind of should. Yeah, you should. Having attendants must be awkward and narrow when cars have an internal mechanism to open the gas cap. Yeah. You have to like press the thing and they just stand there and they're waving at you and they're like, can you open it? Can you open it, please? Yeah. Checked EU and property tax is way lower than the US. Yeah, but, well, this depends on country, but a lot of the EU countries take a lot more of your income. But then other things cost less. It's interesting. Everything has balance. I see, I had a friend move here from Europe. He officially moved to New York City, and he was saying, he was like, oh man, I'm so excited because my income tax in European country he was in was so high. They were taking basically 50%, like half of the money he made. And he was like, God, I'm gonna save so much money. And I was like, you're just gonna get taxed on different stuff. And then he moved over, and he still saves more money by being here, but there were a lot of other things that he, you know, had to pay for that he was like, oh, because he was so used to, yeah, in the EU, like so much of his income went away, but he didn't pay all these individual other taxes and other things, so it still kind of worked out. You know, if anything, it was easier because he didn't have to think much about it, but he was just like, oh, oh, I have to do it all myself. And I was like, yeah, in the US you have to pay all your shit separately yourself. The government doesn't just give you one bill for everything, you know? He didn't have to pay the health insurance tax because it was rolled into his income tax. Yeah, exactly. Well, not the health insurance tax. He didn't have to pay for it. You know, etc., etc. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Also, we have, like, in the US, you've got your state and your federal taxes as separate things, and that always kind of blows certain friends' minds when they move here, because they're like, well, you don't just pay to your country, and I'm like, no, the country's huge. That would be crazy, you know. We pay to the state too. Some places like New York City, you pay to the city separately as well, and then your taxes from the state for certain things are lower to kind of make up for it. Sometimes not, depends on the thing. And watching friends try to like figure that out is always really funny. I was an early Facebook adopter and an early leaver. Yeah. Because I was like watching everyone give their opinions, and I was like, wow, I hate this.